What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Turnbuckle Topics podcast. I'm your host, Pat Dineen, and this is my review of Friday Night Smackdown, which took place September 22nd, 2023. Now, before I hop into this review, very good show, by the way. SmackDown's really been getting it together. It hasn't been that great earlier in the year, but it's been much improved. Got to give them that. I want to address the elephant in the room, and that being one, the King of Bros, Matt Riddle. Now, it was announced by Matt Riddle about a little more than a half hour before SmackDown took place Friday on Twitter that he is no longer part of WWE, which doesn't come to us as much as a surprise at all. Not unexpected, really, especially the most recent incident that happened a few weeks ago at JFK Airport in New York. And that was pretty much strike three for him. He had a couple other incidents in the past year or two. It's been a rough couple of years for Matt Riddle, and I really wish him all the best. Hopefully he could get back on track before returning to pro wrestling, whether that's WWE, AEW, or wherever else he may end up with his career. Again, I really wish the best for him, but he tweeted at 7:26 p.m. again Friday night, right before SmackDown went on air. Just wanted to inform everyone that I'm no longer with WWE. Thank you for the memories and opportunities. Also, thank you to all the fans for the support and love you give me every time I go out to the ring. See you all soon. Now, this was said by, this article comes from Wrestling Inc. It says the headline is Matt Riddle, released by WWE, had reportedly burned through too many chances. And again, very believable. We kind of all saw the handwriting on the wall with this Matt Riddle situation. Again, very unfortunate. Riddle made headlines earlier this month for an incident at JFK Airport. Hadn't been seen on television since, despite reports that his absence was not related to the airport altercation, and that he was making his return to WWE Raw this week. Fightful Select is now reporting that Riddle hasn't been backstage or on the road with WWE since he was pulled from the weekend events and September 11th episode of Raw. Fightful also claims Riddle was not planned for a return and not part of WWE's creative plans following the incident, despite the fact that he was in the middle of a storyline that had seen him teaming up with Drew McIntyre, and says one source cited Riddle as having burned through too many chances while in WWE. Now, again, very believable situation, very unfortunate, although he was not part of Thursday's releases from the company. Who knows when he was actually let go, released, fired, you name it. But Riddle himself made the announcement on Twitter, again, a little over a half hour before Friday Night SmackDown. So all the best to Riddle. And it got me thinking, back to February 2017. I love a good flashback story, and I'd like to share it right now with all of you. Tommy Dreamer was hosting an event in Freehold, New Jersey. Of course, I went just 15 minutes down the road, and was talking to Tommy Dreamer about a few things, especially about his House of Hardcore promotion that he was running at the time, a show I had never been to, but I had let him know that, look, I'm going to make it to a few shows this year in 2017, being that they had a couple close by, and would love to get to Philly, which I also was able to. I'll get to that in a bit. And there was one name in particular that Tommy Dreamer had brought up, and I had no inclination of him at all. He was saying how excited he was to be booking Matt Riddle for some of his upcoming House of Hardcore shows. Again, had no idea what he did, that he wrestled, former MMA fighter, and so on. So I remember him saying that about Matt Riddle. I went to one of the shows in 2017, the first House of Hardcore show I went to. I was in Metuchen, New Jersey. That was in April. And I remember Matt Hardy was there. Now, he was supposed to wrestle at that event. I'm going a little off topic. I'm going to make my way to Matt Riddle at the very end of this. Just bear with me. But House of Hardcore, Matt Hardy was there. He's supposed to wrestle. He only could do a meet and greet because this was just a week or two after him and Jeff Hardy had returned to WWE, WrestleMania 33, of course, winning those Raw Tag Team titles in that latter match. That was good to see Matt Hardy there. Also, Brian Cage from AEW / Ring of Honor was there, and Bubba Ray Dudley as well. Now, I went to a show in August for House of Hardcore. Again, this was in Freehold, the original place that I had met Tommy Dreamer at back earlier in the year when he was telling me about House of Hardcore and Matt Riddle. At this show was MVP, MJF, of course, now the AEW World Champion, Jake Hager, Bobby Fish. Now, the cool thing about Bobby Fish was not only was this his last independent booking, before leaving the Indies, and everybody was like, oh, he's going to NXT or WWE, and that exactly was what took place. I was also in the building that following weekend with a buddy of mine at the Barclays Center to see Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, and Adam Cole debut on WWE at the NXT TakeOver 3 show in Brooklyn, attacking the new NXT champion, Drew McIntyre, at the time. So that was pretty cool. That's what became the Undisputed Era, right? Roderick Strong joined them about a year later or so. Very cool. And the third and final House of Hardcore show that I attended, the last one I was ever at, was November of 2017, Philadelphia. at the 2300 Arena, old ECW Arena. And the cool thing about this was this is where I got to see Matt Riddle. I forget who he went up against. Matt Riddle was there, Luchasaurus of AEW. Of course, now he's with Christian Cage, the TNT champion. Billy Gunn was there, one third of the AEW Trios champions, Daddy Yaz. And the Briscoes, God rest Jay Briscoe's soul, but I got to see the Briscoes. That's the only time I got to see Jay and Mark Briscoe, and they were there as well. So I remember Riddle was great. I could tell you that. I'm pretty sure he got the victory as well. And I do hope Riddle gets back on track, cleans up his act, because extremely talented. Again, last couple years have been pretty checkered for him. Very unfortunate scenario for Riddle, but we kind of all knew this was going to eventually happen sooner or later. Not sure what it was going to take for Riddle to be let go or fired, but we knew that he's been having several issues in the public eye, and it hasn't been looking good for him. And he's so damn talented. Honestly, former United States champion, at least two-time Raw tag team champion with RK Bro, Randy Orton. And I know he had a lot of success in NXT as well. I remember he won the tag team tournament, the Dusty Classic a few years back with Pete Dunne. And, to be honest with you, if he didn't screw up so much in the recent past, they would have probably booked him in the main event situation, going up against Seth Rollins for that WWE World Championship. And who knows, maybe dethroning him one day if he had not messed up. So, they couldn't trust him anymore. They recently had him with Drew McIntyre. And believe me, nothing wrong with Drew, two-time WWE World Champion, many other accolades. But what I'm saying is they had him in a tag team sense again. He's done that, been there, done that. And they couldn't trust him in a main event scenario. So I think the last significant singles opportunity that Riddle had was a few months back up against Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship. I forget what event that was at, but I know that was earlier this year. And that was pretty much that. So look, I hope Riddle gets it together. And with that being said, I want to jump right into the Smackdown review that took place Glendale, Arizona at the Desert Diamond Arena. Now, John Cena opened up Friday Night Smackdown. Always good to see Cena. Cena says, look, tonight is a special night. He doesn't want to be a referee, a host, backstage correspondent, or anything he's done in the recent past and previous weeks on WWE television. He came back to compete, and tonight is the night that he would like to have that match. He asked the crowd, is tonight a good night to have a match? The crowd roared, obviously. Cena says he's angry at the Bloodline. He would fight them both himself, but as luck would have it, he thinks he found himself a partner, a phenomenal partner. Insert AJ Styles. His music hits, makes his way out to the ring. Now, last Friday on SmackDown, Styles helped save Cena from the Bloodline, Solo Sikoa, Jimmy Uso, and so it only made sense, right, to incorporate him. Now, Styles and Cena stood across from one another. Styles says, you want AJ Styles and John Cena versus the Bloodline? Styles agreed to it, of course, calls out the Bloodline. He says, you want some? Come get some. Jimmy Uso, Solo Sikoa made their way out, jumped on the apron. Jimmy tapped Solo. Look, let's not even bother. They hopped down and left the ring area. Cena and AJ were backstage shortly thereafter, pleading with Adam Pearce to book this match, make it official. Pearce says it's complicated with the Bloodline, and he needs to get in contact with special counsel Paul Heyman to try to square this away. So we would get back to that in just a little bit. For the time being, we had Rey Mysterio with Santos Escobar, made their way out with Zelina Vega, LWO, in the building. And they were versus the new and improved Street Profits, who recently aligned themselves with Bobby Lashley, who last week attacked LWO, came out in complete heel fashion. And what's confusing is this week, Bobby Lashley comes out smiling with the Street Profits, slapping five to the fans, shaking hands. Things are all good. And it's confusing because are you heels or baby faces? Because, you present yourself as a baby face, but then you act like a heel. Again, the Street Profits, they need to change their music. They need to get rid of the happy-go-lucky theme song, the red solo cups. It's time for them to move on. Hopefully we get that. Anyway, jumping into the match. Nice Hurricane Rana by Santos to Ford. Ford tags in Dawkins. Escobar tagged in Mysterio. Lashley pulled Rey off the outside. Again, very heel thing to do, right? And slammed him directly onto the apron. Now, Mysterio reversed Dawkins' attempt to finish this match and scored the pinfall. Got the victory, shocked the Street Profits and Bobby Lashley. Lashley was furious. He's basically saying, Dawkins, I gave this to you on a silver platter. What the hell happened? Post-match, Lashley walked away, visibly upset with them, and the Street Profits sat in the middle of the ring, tucking their tails, not quite sure what to do. Now, look, either the Profits got to get more vicious and learn to seal the deal, especially when Lashley handed it to them, again, on a silver platter, or Maybe they split the profits up. Maybe they kick Dawkins out. Originally we thought the Street Profits may go their separate ways, regardless who's the heel or the babyface with the two. Maybe Montez Ford and Lashley decide that Dawkins is the reason they're not doing well or losing. Maybe they get rid of him. Maybe they replace him with someone else. Maybe they just roll with Lashley and Montez for a while, and they're both terrors in the singles division. We'll see. So we'll get back to them in just a minute. But Austin Theory made his way out to the commentary table, jawing at Michael Cole. And, this was following a video package of The Rock's return in confrontation with Theory the Friday prior, when The Rock made his return, first time in almost 4 years on WWE television. And Theory went on to say, "I did it all by myself," referring to the 153 million views WWE pulled in across all of their social media in the past week. I think he even posted something on Twitter. Yeah, he wrote 153 million views, hashtag Austin Theory Live, with a cocky looking picture of himself saying it's basically all me. We very well know that is not the case. I like this next video package, and it was very ironic because the women's tag titles have seemed cursed for quite some time, especially during the reign of Chelsea Green. Before she won those tag titles, it was supposed to be Carmella and Chelsea Green at WrestleMania as part of that match. Carmella gets pregnant, beautiful thing, but Chelsea lost her tag partner. Insert Sonya Deville. She was part of that match. Eventually, they won tag gold. Sonya Deville goes down with an injury. Now, insert Piper Niven. Piper Niven teaming up with Chelsea Green. She was initially with her for a week or two. Then she wasn't medically cleared. Then she was. So I'm not really sure what's going on with the whole women's tag team division as a whole, specifically Chelsea and her lack of having a partner and their title reign. So we'll see. It's been a whole lot of confusion, but going to this video package now I'm about to discuss, we haven't seen them in weeks, but at least we saw Alba Fire and Isla Dawn talking about the women's tag titles and how they found misfortune as of late. Go on to say it's almost like they're cursed. Who could conjure a skill like that? Obviously referring to themselves. Witches, witchcraft and so on that they perform. But they basically take responsibility for cursing the women's tag team division. Somebody's got to be held liable and accountable for this. What was it? A little over 2 months ago when they came to the main roster and they merged the titles, the NXT Women's Tag Team Championships and the main roster, WWE Women's Tag Team Championships. We had Ronda Rousey and Shayna, who held the WWE version, and Alba and Isla, who held the NXT. Ronda and Shayna won them, merging the titles. And it seems like ever since that happened, things just haven't worked out well. Shayna turned on Ronda. Of course, Liv and Raquel won them for a little bit. Then they lost those titles to, I believe it was, Sonya and Chelsea Green. And now Chelsea can't keep a partner to save her life. So we'll see what happens. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing Isla Dawn and Alba Fire getting those tag titles like they rightfully deserve. And hey, let's insert Kaden Carter and Katana Chance in that mix as well. We barely see them on Monday Night Raw. Gotta use these ladies that you brought up from NXT during the draft. Why not? So now we have the Brawling Brutes. They propose a match versus Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. Adam Pearce books it right on the spot. Waller and Pearce not happy, claim that they have plans Friday night, and that they aren't able to attend to this match, but they show up later on. We'll get to that. But first and foremost, we have to get back to Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits. We had a segment here where Lashley is infuriated. He says, "What was that?" Addressing them backstage, says, "I want the watches, the suits, all of the amenities that he's presented them with in the past month or two. I want all of that back." He goes, "If you can't get the job done, you can sit in catering and I'll find somebody else who will." And he means it. So again, I'm curious to see if the Street Profits could get back to their winning ways. Will they split? Will Angelo Dawkins get the boot and it just be Montez Ford and Bobby Lashley? Will Lashley step in as Montez's partner? I don't know, but very curious. And I'm glad it's not going as smooth as I thought it would initially. I thought they were just going to come in and absolutely dominate because let's be honest, Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits, that's a awesome new version of the Hurt Business, if you will. So we'll see what happens there. Next up, we had an awesome video package for Asuka and IYO Sky. We've been waiting for this match for months, really ever since IYO came to the main roster, SummerSlam 2022, right? So this leads right into their match. IYO Sky defends her WWE Women's Championship in what most consider to be a dream match. Definitely is. Asuka versus IYO Sky. Made her way out with Bayley and Dakota Kai of Damage Control, IYO that is. Immediately after introductions, right before the bell even rang, of course, who else? Charlotte Flair. So everybody Says here we go again. Even though she didn't, play much of a role in this match, she sat ringside. As Cole said, which is nothing but the truth, she never shies away from the spotlight. No kidding. And these two put on a show. Asuka was beating the hell out of IYO for a large majority of this match. IYO countered later in the match with some high-flying maneuvers, leaving Asuka laying on the ground on the outside. I do love the fact that WWE, rightfully so, gave these women plenty of time to display their skills, showcase them as they deserve, really. I mean, it's a pay-per-view match they're giving us on Friday Night SmackDown. Grateful for it. And I'm glad it wasn't, a 4 or 5 minute match. That would have been silly. So anyway, I do have to call out the crowd, though. The crowd in, what was it, Arizona? They sucked. The crowd was terrible. This is a match you should have been on your feet for. And the majority of this match, they were not in it. They weren't in much throughout the night. So they were just terrible, terrible crowd, unfortunately. Bayley put IYO's foot on the bottom rope when Asuka had her in a submission hold to break the hold. Charlotte then got up. She made her way over to Bayley, knocked her to the ground. IYO ends up hitting her moonsault from the top rope for the win and still. So look, as much as I do love Asuka and not the biggest fan of Damage Control, because I don't think IYO Sky needs Damage Control. It's cool, Dakota Kai, Bayley, but they've kind of run their course, and IYO deserves to be on her own. IYO is the type of, not just champion, but type of pro wrestler, type of woman that just does things on her own, does not need any help. So I really would like to see IYO not only be WWE Women's Champion for a significant amount of time, but I would love to see her do this without any type of faction or help, whether she's a babyface or heel. Just let her do her thing on her own with the crazy theme music. That's how she's best presented. Moving on here, we have Paul Heyman, Jimmy Uso, and Solo Sikoa. They're with Adam Pearce and the Bloodline suite. Heyman said that he's okay with it, them having a match, as long as it's not tonight, the match between the Bloodline and John Cena and AJ Styles. Jimmy said they'll see them later in the ring for their Fastlane contract signing. Paul Heyman gave Jimmy a look and he said, usually decisions like that need approval, authorization from the tribal chief. So Jimmy Uso, man, he's taking initiative on a lot of things, and you think he would kind of lay low, keep a low profile ever since being reintroduced into the Bloodline. Initially, of course, leaving or getting kicked out, call it what you want, super kicking Roman on numerous occasions. You think him returning, he'd be a little more humble. But look, I appreciate the aggression and all that from Jimmy Uso. So we'll see. We get a very funny skit from Pretty Deadly. I was wondering where those guys were. Good tag team. Whether you like their gimmick or not, they're a very talented duo. So Pretty Deadly, we have Kit Wilson talking, and he's talking about Elton Prince suffering a catastrophic shoulder injury 2 months ago. It was a very funny skit. If you didn't get to see Smackdown, definitely go on their YouTube or wherever they have clips of it, or go on Hulu, watch Smackdown. If they didn't cut that out, hopefully not. But it's a long road to recovery, they say. Hashtag Elton Strong. So that was good stuff. Now, we did have that tag team match with the Brawling Brutes going 2-on-2 versus Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. Surprised both of their egos could fit in this arena, Waller and Theory. They think a lot of themselves. So anyway, Ridge Holland's strength, incredible. Tossed Waller and Theory around like they were absolutely nothing, like a feather. Holland had Theory in a Boston Crab, while Butch had Waller in a sleeper on the outside. Grayson Waller was able to back Butch into the ring post. Waller hit a rolling stunner, and Theory hit the 8-count down on Ridge Holland to get the win. This was a fun match, hard-fought victory. I believe this is their first or second time teaming up in tag team action. So, like Waller in Theory or not, obviously they're heels. They're not really supposed to be liked. They're irritating heels too. They really can get under your skin. But at the same time, you can't, negate the fact that they're very talented in singles and especially as a tag team. Next week, we have Rey Mysterio defending his United States Championship versus fellow LWO member Santos Escobar. I'm very curious to see how that's going to go. Will Santos become a heel? Will he do a heel tactic and get the victory, become the new United States champion? Or will he still pull some kind of a heel tactic, some kind of a sneaky move and end up losing? And then it causes tension regardless amongst Rey and Santos and the LWO in general. Maybe Selena gets involved, Joaquin Wilde, and the other gentleman, formerly known as Raul Mendoza. Forget his new name. But that should be good. So we'll see Charlotte Flair versus Bayley. Of course, they mixed it up at the end of the Asuka IYO match. And Cruz del Toro, by the way, formerly known as Raul Mendoza. It's Cruz del Toro. And we have Bobby Lashley, who will come on the Grayson Waller effect. And I'm not the biggest fan of the Grayson Waller effect, but I'm sure that's going to be good because one thing Grayson Waller is great at doing, whether you're a babyface or a heel, he's good at stirring things up. He goes even further than the Miz at times. Miz TV, of course. So you better believe that Grayson Waller is going to bring up the Street Profits losing quite a bit as of recently. What is the current status of the Street Profits with Bobby Lashley? Is there a weak link a la maybe Angelo Dawkins? And will he be replaced or kicked out or booted from the group? So on. Now we have Adam Pearce in the ring. He announces the greatest of all time, John Cena. That seems to be the thing. This came out a couple of weeks ago from internal documents as of late that is how they have to refer to John Cena, whenever they're talking about him backstage, whether it's with Kayla Braxton, whether the ring announcer, Mike Romer, whomever is bringing John Cena out. It's got to be the greatest of all time. Now, agree with that or not, that's just how it's going to be. We were supposed to get AJ Styles coming out next, the phenomenal AJ Styles. Cameras go backstage. Jimmy Uso viciously attacking AJ Styles. Cena, of course, didn't hesitate, ran to the back. Solo was seen standing on top of equipment backstage. Then he plunged from roughly 15 feet onto AJ Styles, putting him right through a table. Now we have Paul Heyman making his way out to the ring. In the meantime, Cena and the OC, actually just Carl Anderson, because I know Gallows has been out with an injury, but they're seen carting AJ into the ambulance. Carl Anderson tells Cena he's been telling AJ Styles not to get involved with this Bloodline stuff, quote unquote. Now the Bloodline are in the ring. Solo clears out all the chairs. I mean, he's throwing them so hard, wheels are popping off into the crowd. Heyman gets on the microphone. Heyman says he's got a contract that is signed by the second greatest of all time, John Cena, without a tag team partner. How about that? Jimmy yanks the mic from Paul's hand. Again, Jimmy's been very bold as of late. Jimmy said if you were smart, you would have jumped into the ambulance with AJ Styles. Jimmy says he'll end up in an ambulance anyway. That's not a prediction. That's a spoiler. Cena makes his way out, fighting the Bloodline 2-on-1. I was kind of waiting for somebody to come out. Nobody did. Cena taken down by a Samoan spike. Jimmy hits Cena with a frog splash. Jimmy and Solo then sign the contracts for Fastlane, followed by another frog splash by Jimmy Uso. So as it stands at this very moment in time, as of this podcast recording, it's 2-on-1. We know Cena will find himself a partner, whether it's Styles, someone else. He's got 2 weeks to figure it out. Now, it was said shortly thereafter, I believe, just as SmackDown was coming to a close, Sean Ross Sapp tweeted out, originally, LA Knight was listed as being involved in Friday Night SmackDown's contract signing. Knight was listed as a surprise to help John Cena. Again, we were all waiting for someone to come to his aid since AJ Styles was attacked and carted off in an ambulance. He was also internally listed as teaming with Cena in a dark match following the show. We're told this was not a Vince McMahon change. It was medical related. Now, not even 20 minutes later, after Sean Ross Sapp tweeted that out, he had more breaking news in regards to this whole LA Knight bit. He says Fightful has confirmed with WWE sources and those close to him that LA Knight tested positive for COVID just before WWE SmackDown and had to leave the building. He was supposed to be involved in the main event segment, wishing him a speedy recovery. So again, unfortunate news about LA Knight, speedy recovery to him. And look, the glass half full here is that WWE Fastlane, I believe, is October 7th. So he has some time to get better and, to get a negative result for COVID. So hopefully he, again, gets better soon. And that was pretty much SmackDown. That was it. There was one release that came on Friday from NXT, by the way, that was not part of my special. If you haven't checked it out, check it out regarding the WWE releases and such that happened Thursday. Ika Minjiro, he spent 3 years on NXT, not really much of a relevant role. He tweeted out, "Thank you, WWE and WWE Universe. I was there just 3 years. There were so many special memories and great friends. What's next? We'll see." So, shout out to him. It's unfortunate seeing people lose their jobs. Again, I know he didn't have the most significant role, but we'll see what happens as far as the future is concerned for him. Now, I know after SmackDown went off air, somebody had tweeted out that John Cena wrestled Montez Ford for the first time during tonight's dark match. Angelo Dawkins, of course, being ringside for that. Good for Montez Ford, man. Of course, we all know that the Street Profits are incredibly talented. Everybody says that Montez is going to be the star out of the group, which I don't dispute. out of the two. Angelo Dawkins can do his thing, don't get me wrong, but Montez is pretty much next level. Angelo Dawkins, you could confidently say he'll be a solid mid-carder, potential future U.S. or Intercontinental champion, whereas Montez, you could really say, maybe a year or two from now, he can be going for that WWE World Heavyweight Championship or, WWE or Universal title as well. He's that damn good. He really is. So good for Montez Ford. That's fantastic news to see him in that kind of a spot. Want to speak about Emma, even though she's been released from WWE as of Thursday, and the unfortunate thing where she tweeted out at 10:04 a.m. that she was excited to see Elimination Chamber coming to her homeland of Australia, and then not even a half hour later saying, "Oh, never mind, I just got released." So I feel terrible for Emma, but at the same time, regardless where she goes, whether it's back to Impact or whatever, she's going to land on her feet because she is solid in the ring. And again, that Impact women's locker room is a very good, fun, and I've heard nothing but good things about that whole, not just the women's division, but Impact as a whole back there. So Tennille Dashwood, formerly known as Emma, tweeted, "Thank you for all the lovely messages and comments. I see you all, and your support never goes unnoticed. While I wasn't expecting a call yesterday, it's also fair to say that I wasn't shocked. When I returned to WWE, I was so excited. I was ready to work my ass off and do all the things I didn't do the first time around. But it became apparent pretty quickly that this wasn't my time, and that's okay. Would I have loved to wrestle a stadium show in my home country? You bet. But now many doorways and opportunities have opened up, and that's exciting. I feel very fortunate today. I met my soon-to-be husband in WWE. I'm so grateful for that and the beautiful life we have been building. I get to spend more time with my family and friends and can really focus on the important things in my life." Ended with, "And you bet I'm going to travel as much as possible. I can't wait to see more of the world and take you all on more adventures with us soon in more ways than one. Stay tuned." So again, shout out to Tennille Dashwood, all the best, with her fiance, Riddick Moss. And, I hope to see them both in a wrestling ring in the very near future. Again, like Sean Ross Sapp had mentioned, most of them have that 90-day no-compete clause, even though they were let go or terminated. So most of them we won't see in a wrestling ring till around Christmas time or the New Year at earliest. But hopefully we see them at some point. So for those of you who are wondering what's next for Cody Rhodes, right? He had Brock Lesnar for months on end after Roman Reigns. Then he had Dominic Mysterio, which they're still even teasing to this day. I think he's even fighting Dominic on live events. Non-Raw, non-televised events. But Cody Rhodes was attacked by Omos during yesterday's WWE live event, it was said. Are we to see a rivalry with Omos and Cody Rhodes up next? None of us asked for this. Really, we didn't. I thought this was a joke at first. Come to find out it's not. Somebody had photo evidence of Omos interfering in a Cody and Dominic Mysterio match at a house show, a live event. So look, I know that they need to do something with Omos. I know that Vince McMahon has been very high on Omos for the last 3+ years, even getting some gold in the process. But at the very same time, I think, look, if you want to go with this dynamic of putting up all these giants quite literally in front of Cody Rhodes on his way to hopefully becoming WWE champion one day, eventually got the best of Brock Lesnar, beating him 2 out of the 3 times they fought. Getting past Dominic Mysterio isn't really a big deal, honestly. So I know the Judgment Day collectively are a big deal, but Dom, it's kind of whatever, even though he's the NXT North American champion right now. And now Omos, I guess, figuratively, if Cody is to take down Omos, it's a big deal based upon size, not, amount of skill set, right? So we'll see what happens there. Again, not really intrigued by it, but at the very same time, curious as to where they're going to go with this whole, new Omos Cody Rhodes bit that apparently happened over the weekend. So remains to be seen, folks, but that's just about it here for my review of the latest episode of Friday Night Smackdown from September 22nd. And thanks for checking out the Turnbuckle Topics podcast. As usual, I am your host, Pat Dineen, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening.